Okay, we're walking through the ACH Search Awareness Report, and this is one of the first keywords, and we're doing an analysis of the 2,800 words for the ACH industry. So the first thing that you'll want to do is you'll see that there is a blue area for your inputs, and each of the cells have different notes that pop up on tips and how to use it and what's relevant for it. You'll see that also in the columns. So the first area that you're going to want to add is the number of searches that you want to target each month. We have 400 in there. Let's say you wanted to move up into a little bit broader market, but in a business-to-business environment, if you what's called long tail is chasing words that are very specific and very relevant and a targeted market. So that's where your number of searches in the local US for Google comes into play. So let's go ahead and make that 500. And backlink threshold, what that means is that the number of backlinks it requires, or I should say the existing number one ranked spot has, is what that is. So that will fall into this column here, and so we have it set 400, and let's say you wanted to make it a little bit more narrow and go with 75. And what that does is it requires you to have the backlinks on third-party websites related to your keyword pointing back to your landing page. That's where a backlink is really credible and valuable, and the search engines look at that and appreciate it. The next piece is going to be your conversion rate. What this does is the first one is your web visitor to lead. Call to action, how many call you, how many people fill out a web form, etc. So let's go ahead for conservative, put that at 3. And the close ratio, how many people do you close in your sales pipeline? We have 10% in there. Let's go ahead and leave that at 10. And then the last point is going to be how much revenue do you make in a year per a client that you sell. Let's just go ahead and make that a little bit more lower at $7,500. What that does is we'll ripple in to this area over here and calculate for you some very specific numbers that you can apply to your business. The first half of these areas may be some things that you see in standard Google kind of tools, maybe some software or other SEO reports that you have, but there's some things that are very specific here that are unique to the industry. So first thing we'll do is you'll notice that there's a sort area that can make this A to Z, alphabetical, or you can pick particular keywords, phrases, anything like that that you want to try to target. What I do want to emphasize is that this is the exact keyword phrase you're going to be using. And when you're looking at search engine optimization and putting it onto your website, into social media, blogs, press releases, things of that sort, you want to be very specific in this regard, because what happens in a lot of cases is that the singular versus the plural will have a very big impact on how the search engines rank, what people search for, etc. So when we get into this, I'll show you a couple different things that will be a bit more, well, actually here, let's take a look at this. So for instance, if you look at accept check, you'll see that there's 33,000 searches globally on Google and 22,000 in the US monthly. But if you look at accept checks, plural, you'll see that it's not quite half, but 18,000 on Google searched. So 18,000 versus 33,000, and then locally 18 versus 22. So just by focusing on the singular, you're going to capture a bit more of an audience in that, and the singular always will end up picking up the plural. So you're kind of better off in that regard. So now that you've entered the information, you see the keyword phrases. What first thing I'm going to do is sort this on the cost benefit index. And this is a calculation based directly on your inputs that will tell you whether they fit a high backlink or low searches. So we'll do a sort on that and quickly narrow this down, and now I'm going to run through the couple different pieces for it. Let's focus, let's say, on eCheck. So we'll highlight that just as a representation. In this regard, what you'll see is there's 135,000 searches monthly for the exact phrase eCheck, no space. and 90,000 monthly in the US. The average cost per click is $3.39 if you were doing an AdWords campaign for it. CVI is what's called the commercial value index. What this does is the higher the number, the more likely the person is to transact, make an e-commerce purchase or transaction with it. The lower the number, the more informational related the search would be. The 21,000, this is a calculation of the number of results out there on Google for that specific phrase. And then what this shows here is the position number 1 backlinks. The lower the number, the better you're going to be. And what that reflects is if it's 0 or 1 or 2, probably people aren't specifically targeting that keyword that Google has ranked. So what that means is it's going to be very opportunistic. If you identify it, you're going to want to go after and get it. We then show a difficulty score. This goes from easy to moderate, very easy, hard, etc. And then you can able to sort that way as well. The cost benefit index. Now, a couple things that I want to show and emphasize before I get into the other half of the table to the right is that one of the things you also want to do is identify words you don't want to chase. And the reason that we do that, say that, is because a lot of times people will start to look at various phrases that they think might be relevant, but then they turn and find out that the searches are very low and there's a lot of backlinks that are required for it. So for instance, if you look at accept electronic check and checks, for instance, you'll see the numbers are different, but the searches are less than 500 a month, and they're pretty highly competitive in the AdWords area, definitely transactional. But for you to be able to score, you would need to have over 7 million backlinks for it. So you can see that it's very hard. And so what you're able to do with this is not only identify the right words you want to use, but also identify words you don't want to use because they're going to be too difficult and too challenging. So after saying that, let's go back up here and focus on eCheck. Now, a couple things I do want to emphasize is up on the right-hand side, you'll see these plus signs. What this does is break out each of these additional sections for each of the top 10 positions, so ranking 1 through 10 for each of these next areas I'm going to cover. Search awareness. This is a very unique factor, and if you saw the earlier video, what this is a representation of the amount of brand awareness or search awareness you'll get for that keyword in minutes per a month. So for instance, if you were number 1 for eCheck, you would have an opportunity based on the number of searches domestically in the US, you would have the opportunity for over 12,000 minutes of brand awareness as an average and a baseline to start. And then you can see as you go down into the different positions, it would score differently for each. Now, this is just a baseline, and if you have multiple spots by chasing and going after the right words, you'll be able to dominate and get multiple positions in the rankings where you're going to increase both your odds of time and traffic. This next column is going to show you the potential clicks that you will get to your traffic, to your website. Again, breaking it out 1 through 10. Then the number of leads. This is the possible leads you would get based on the factor that you entered here. So if you were to change that, it ripples through. Again, it goes 1 through 10. The close ratio of deals that you're able to close, 79. And this is, again, once you're in full stride ranked, this is monthly. If you were able to get and achieve these kind of numbers, again, it's an estimate. It's kind of a baseline to put a goal out there, and then the amount of revenue you would be able to get should you be able to close the business with this. So that is what the search awareness report does, and as I mentioned, we have one for each of the various industries in the payments market, and we'll have additional reports coming out for additional verticals and industries, so stay tuned. Thanks and have a good day.